Quorum. Thank you. Are we all checked in, John? We're ready to go? Sounds good. Okay, my name is Don Trottier. I am chairman of the Finance Committee. I'm calling it to order at 5:04. All supervisors are present with exceptions of Supervisor Nielsen and Supervisor Wish. Unfortunately, I don't have any youth and governance students here, so we will not read a youth and governance statement. I have the opportunity at all of the FHR meetings as the chairman to make a comment, and my only comment is this. Go Brewers. They'd add a little bit of light to the meeting here. A couple of housekeeping notes. Each department will be doing a presentation. We, as a committee, are looking for discussion from the directors or who's ever representing the directors between 5 and 10 minutes maximum. And then giving opportunities for the committee and supervisors that are present to ask questions. I am asking, so as many as possible can speak, that the committee members hold yourself to 2 questions and please identify the page and the line item that you're referring. This is for the FHR committee members for 2 questions. And supervisors, I am asking you to also identify the page and the line item in 1 question. And then we're going to come back to the committee members and supervisors to ask additional questions, okay? If you do, any of the supervisors and FHR committee members have any questions that you're not able to ask this evening or think of, please follow the system that we have had a lot of success. They've been emailed to Gwen Zimmer, our finance director. They are responded online, so keep reviewing the requests that are online. I do want to also mention we've had discussions about the amendments. Please read the emails that have come out about how to handle amendments. And I say this lastly, you can submit an amendment up until the final approval of the budget, which is the second reading on November 3rd. You can do it from the floor. Not advised, but you can do it from the floor. Supervisor Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Judge. Just for the public who is listening or who may be viewing these proceedings later, on the county's website and the finance department, you will find lots of background, including something new this year. We thank the finance director for initiating some frequently asked questions. And there are a lot of questions on there already with a lot of answers. So that will enhance your understanding of the budgets should you so desire.
Thank you. Okay, that will do it for my comments and my housekeeping. I would like to ask the county executive, Ralph Malicki, to speak about his 2026 budget, please. Welcome, County Executive.
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to put a few words together here to get this process kicked off. So 1 year ago, I campaigned for the nonpartisan position of county executive, and I plan to lead in a way that is true to the nonpartisan designation of this office. I believe in providing services our citizens need and require while being fiscally responsible. There needs to be a balance between the cost of doing business and taxes. While this budget process may have moments of contention, what you can expect from me is a steady, consistent, and collaborative hand. From the very beginning of this process, I viewed this as a joint effort between county board and the executive branch, not from an authoritative place. I've heard do more with less. On that note, I submit to you that it may be time to do less. That will be a 22-person discussion between us, between you and myself. I'm more than open to different ideas and perspectives and will entertain any amendments that may come up from these perspectives. I welcome the differing opinions and dialogue. You have a seat at the table, but you can't stand in the corner and say cut without helping to craft a plan. We're here together. Now let's work together. Thank you.
Thank you, County Executive. Okay, next on my agenda, number 3 is the approval of the minutes from October 1st of 2025. I need a motion.
Move to approve.
I have a first and a second from Supervisor Spencer. Any discussion? Hearing none. Committee, all in favor? Are there any nays? Hearing none. The minutes from October 1st, 2025 are approved. Next up, the committee will review the following individual department budgets with department heads. And on my list, I have our human resources, including the employee benefits, administrative services. I have Director Sarah Street here to speak on the human resources, and she is providing a handout as we speak. Sarah. Sarah is to my right up here.
Yes, hello, good evening. So the handout that you're being given, so I didn't do a presentation, but did do just a one-page informational handout discussing the human resources activities of 2024. So I'll just wait till those get handed out. The human resources budget pages can be found on page 147. That's where the human resources sections begins. All right, so I'll draw your attention to the handout. So the top of the handout kind of just talks more about our recruitments. Obviously, that's a main function of the Human Resources Department. And 2024 was a busy year, like they all have been. There were over 140 recruitments. And every time that we post a position, we get on average of 2,000 hits. So I just put that on there to show that people are seeing our jobs postings, and that means that they clicked on it, they looked at it for some reason. But then when it comes down to it, we get about 54 applications per recruitment. So big difference in numbers there. And then once we get those applications, the department and the team review them. And then on average, we're interviewing about 15 applicants per recruitment. In 2024, there was a total of 257 new hires, and you can see there is a chart in the budget book on page 149, so you can kind of see how that compares to other years. And our employee turnover was down a little bit for 2024 at 16%. Just want to draw your attention to another page and graph in the budget book. On page 123, there is a graph that shows our health insurance expenses over time. And I've talked to a lot of my counterparts that have been experiencing 8-9% increases year over year. And at Racine County, we have been able to remain relatively flat. So I did outline some of those reasons how we have things that we put in place, cost containment strategies to help keep our costs flat. A lot of it is making sure that employees are engaged in their own healthcare. When they're engaged in their healthcare decisions, they're a lot more likely to make good financial decisions as well. So we've been just working on educating employees. And then in the blue box, it talks about different programs that have been put in place since 2022. And those also have cost saving measures tied to them. One of the most successful ones that we hear positive feedback about is the second MD program. So I think I've spoke to this about this program before to county board, but if somebody receives a diagnosis or they're dealing with a chronic pain, chronic illness, they can actually get a second opinion from a leading doctor in that area. and they'll review their whole file and make sure. So if you're recommended for a certain treatment or maybe even a surgery, you've had back pain and they're telling you you need to go get surgery, you can use the second MD program. They'll review your medical files and they'll say, yeah, we agree with this course of treatment, or you know what, there's this other treatment out there that might be less invasive, more cost efficient, and work better for you. So we've gotten a lot of really good feedback on that. And you'll recall that in 2024, we added the high deductible health plan. Oh, another thing I wanted to point out is the ER copay. So in 2024, we added an ER copay. It was not popular and I still get feedback on it, but some data just to support that decision was in 2023, our ER costs were almost 70% above the norm. And in 2024, our ER costs were 7% below the norm. So that ER copay really did make a difference in our costs. So there are no staff ads. So I guess I'll just turn it over to all of you for questions that you have about the HR budget.
Thank you, Director Street. I'd like to turn the questions over to our committee. Supervisor Caprillion.
Thank you. Maybe this is a quick one, but on page 151, these are just the positions. And I see the HR analysis, and then we also have where it goes from an E040 to an N120. What is the salary impact of that?
Sure. So the positions that have an E, those are exempt positions. And if there's an N, then they're non-exempt. So normally the lower the number, the lower the salary, and then it goes higher than that. But there's two different salary schedules. So they're all online, the salary schedules. So I can point you to where you can find those. It's on the HR website.
If it's online.
Yeah.
I know how to Google.
Okay.
It brings me, it's my friend. So thank you for that. I'll take a look at that. And then on page 155, there's an increase in the arbitration expense quite significantly.
Yes.
Are you able to speak on that?
Sure. Yeah. So what that is we have seen an increase in more grievances and more lengthy contract negotiations. So previously that was most of that expense was being utilized out of a general public liability fund. But now we're putting that aside, just anticipating that those costs aren't going away. And there just is more demand for those experienced professionals and limited availability of people that have that background and experience. So we just need to continue to pay those people to help us with those situations.
Mr. Chairman, could I add one additional comment?
Certainly.
Supervisor Caprillion, another motivation in creating that separate account is just in furtherance of transparency. Again, to Director Street's point, those have historically been lumped within the more broad category of claims and things of that nature. To allow us to better and more accurately track expenses that are specific to these arbitration related expenses. That's another motivation in creating the separate account.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Yes, I have one just general observation. I've noticed over the last 3-4 years, we try our best to go from contracted services in certain areas to full-time employment. Is there any way that we are able to financially show the savings that we make from that the county is ahead from full-time employees to contracted employees? Again, now I know there's variables that have to be factored into it, you know, when you have an individual that is a full-time employee and they quit and you got to get them retrained and so on and so forth. So I'm just looking as a whole, we have increased our full-time employees and have like pulled back on our contracted employees. Are we saving money?
So I think the money that we would save would be captured in our turnover costs. And unfortunately, that's not a cost that's specified in the budget, like how much turnover costs. I think everybody knows turnover is really expensive, but it's not something that's really accounted for in the budget. And historically, we haven't tracked the employees who were contract and became county. So we could figure out how much that turnover has been reduced, but it just wouldn't be perfect. But I think you'll hear from other departments that it makes a huge difference in their turnover and their staff morale and just how their department functions.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Spencer?
Thank you. My question is on 152. Under the HR communications expenses. And I see that there's in the 90,000s is budgeted, but we're likely to only use 65 in 2025. And I'm wondering, this is part of our recruitment communications, I'm assuming? And where we do that type of advertising for
No,
recruitment?
so the communications, that's actually referring to the communication manager. So in March of 2024, the communications position was moved from under the county executive to the HR's budget. And those budget details can be found on page, let's see here. So that's just the summary that you're looking at. 155. So that's where it breaks down just the top. So that whole top section says HR communications. So
Okay,
it's from wages all the way to materials. That's what would makes up that
Okay,
$96,000
thank you.
number.
I guess I'm still wondering where we advertise for recruitments and what the costs associated with that are?
Yeah, so most of the time we're not paying for advertising. All of our positions we put on our website, which go to governmentjobs.com, and then it also goes on Indeed. So Indeed is where we get the most applications. We also use social media. And then if there's a very specific position and the department requests, sometimes they want it put on specific web pages or websites, then we'll do that. And sometimes there's a nominal cost to that, but for the most part, we aren't paying a great deal in advertising. Most of it is done free.
Thank you. Questions? Yeah. One second, I'll get to you. I'm trying to get to the committee members first. Any additional committee member questions? Supervisor Kelly?
Thank you. Page 148, the 2026 goals that you have listed here, implement salary studies, recommendations. So is that built into this budget somewhere? Who are you using?
Yes, so on page 76, you can see that there's a dollar amount that was put aside for the salary study. And so the salary study has been ongoing for a number of months, and we would not have been able to incorporate those changes into this budget. So the plan is that we will be presenting that to the county board in early 2026.
So the wages out of the contingency fund for 250,000?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Questions from the board members? Supervisor Kramer? Chairman Kramer, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Director Street, you're the first one because I've seen it throughout. When we got detailed pages like on 154 and even on 155, the software subscriptions, the historic prior years that are listed and the proposed are less throughout at the individual department levels. Is there a reason why, or is this just an allocation from IT or?
I can't speak for the other departments, but for HR specifically, we were utilizing a software called Spark Hire that was really beneficial during the pandemic. So it was one-way interviews where the candidate would provide video footage of themselves answering a question. But since we're not doing interviews that way. It just kind of dwindled and people weren't utilizing it. So that was taken out. So that's why that line went down for HR's software
Okay.
subscription.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Prisker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Trying to figure out how to budget my one question. I guess my question will be, what is the employee contribution towards the health insurance premium? I don't have a page to reference. It's just a,
15%.
wow, okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Horth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to thank all of the responses to the questions that have been submitted so far, because it did give us a good chance to take a look. And I will clarify that when you review the FAQs, please be aware that when you're looking at them, they're not always looking directly at the question that was being asked. In this case, I was asking about a year-over-year result, not a year-over-budget result. But that seems to have been answered. However, the one that I left open, because I get one question, was the non-lapsing expenses. And Gwen, thank you for giving me an education over the weekend on what that was or is. However, I do wonder why we show the arbitration expense projection at 52,000, where we don't show any expense this year and we showed no expense in 2024. What's prompting that assumption at this point?
Sure. So
What
this,
page?
Oh,
Excuse me.
excuse me, I'm sorry, 155.
Thank you.
My apologies.
sure. So this goes back to that these expenses were previously being paid under a general account. And now we want, like Michael Lansdorf explained, to be a little more transparent. So we're carving out those expenses. And we have seen that there are more grievances and that our negotiation costs are continuing, and we just want to carve it out to make it obvious what that costs.
And you did share that, Michael, about transparency. So I get that. I just was curious where $52,000 came from, where zero was this year and zero was in 24.
How the number was achieved is what you're asking.
Yep.
Right.
We're estimating based on, I guess, where it's being charged right now.
If I could interject.
Certainly.
So it's a projection, but it is based on past years. While we haven't had a separate line item that addresses those costs, we do have the means because we tend to use the same law firms to assist with these. So we've looked at recent years and based on that, made projections on what we think a reasonable projection may be for the costs that we could expect to incur in the coming year, and it's based on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Okay, I'm going to ask Supervisor Rakowski.
Yes, on page 161, I didn't see it in the glossary or in the fact, but what is TV cog revenue and HSD technical fee?
Yeah, I think that's under IT's budget, so we'll get to those
Oh, I'm sorry.
in just a little bit.
Okay. Chairman Kramer.
Just on the arbitrage. Now that's the whole county that encompasses all the divisions, right?
For the arbitration expense?
Yes.
Yes, it would be for the whole county.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Supervisors, any additional questions for Director Street? Seeing none. Director Street, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your feedback and the questions from the board. Okay, next up, we have the Register of Deeds. We have, excuse me, Carrie Pope, welcome.
Hello?
Page 57.
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay, page 57. Hello. So in my budget, I have a few changes this year. And the first one I'd like to address, and as we were talking about the contracted versus the full-time county position, I am one of those offices that does have a contracted position. It is my front counter position that deals with, can everybody hear me? That they deal with everybody that walks in our office. So they're our first line that everybody sees. It's important that this position understands the makeup of our office because they are helping these people that walk in. And since I've been here, this is my 5th year, we've been through 8 people. And to me, that's a lot. I've never worked in a place that one position turns over that much. And I feel at this point that our department is better off with a full-time county employee. And I'm feeling it from the people that do work there because they're spending an awful lot of time training over and over again. And then they leave, and then when they come back again, there's just no good reason to stay. There's no skin in the game for them. So they move on. And then we're dealt with trying to find somebody else and training them all over again. And it takes I'm going to say at least 6 months before they even understand how to help somebody. So in the meantime, my other full-time staff is getting interrupted and they have to go up and take care of the counter. So in my budget, I am asking that my contracted position that it now covers the front desk become a county full-time position. And I just really want to create the uniformity and stability in that office because we are a public office that all the public goes to. So it's important that we're there to help them. So I am asking for that. And the budget impact on that would be $22,683 for that position. The other change I have is to the fee schedule. I don't have a page 50 for the fee schedule.
Oh, fees, I'm sorry. I don't either, no.
Page
440?
Page 440. You'll see under, we have a $3 convenient charge to access our LAN Shark software. That's our public facing software that people can go out and view all of our recorded LAN documents instead of coming into the office like they used to. And I have kept that fee at $3 for, since I've been there. And really the rate that most counties are using is 5. And because I think that we need to look at, actually the reason I'm going to change it to 5 is to offset some of the credit card fees that we pay for the users. And that means that anybody that goes on Landshark and purchases a document and uses a credit card, there's a fee. And we see those fees, and then this convenient fee is supposed to offset that. So the $5 will be used to offset that and actually some of the software itself. So the service fee from 3 to 5 has a budget impact of about $24,680 that we can use towards those credit card fees. So that's an advantage to us. And lastly, you'll notice the fee schedule, monthly data image report. That's not a new fee. It's actually just a name change. It was previously called the monthly track index information on DVD format. We do not send out this information on DVD, obviously, anymore. So I decided we need to really change that to a more appropriate name. The information is sent via a SharePoint link that is emailed to any customers that have signed an agreement with us. The SharePoint link contains an image of every document recorded for the month, and our customers are like Zillow, CoreLogic, Data Abstract. What they do with it, I don't know. They just want to see all the recorded documents. So we're doing it via SharePoint link now. So that stays the same, just a name change. So as you'll see, my total budget impact is $660,568, which is a 0.003% total operating budget. $308,668 of levy on the levy, which is 0.005%. For a total operating levy and at least 850,000 we predict towards the non-department general revenues. And in closing, I'd like to share a quick overview of what's been accomplished so far this year. We have recorded real estate documents are up 8.52%, from 18,194 to 19,812 this year. Our transfer receipt collection, which the state receives 80% of, and the county 20%, is down 4% this year. And we all know why that is. Just the housing market is down. But so for 2024, we collected 608,367. This year so far, we've collected 580,830. I believe this will change once the interest rates are lowered. Again, we will see a pickup in the market, and we'll see a lot of mortgage refis in our office. And of course, we won't see that until probably the middle of next year, but I'm predicting it's going to come. We issue vital records. They're up 25% from 7,017 last year to 9,356 this year. And that's about it for my budget. If you have any questions.
Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 440, the fees, I'm not sure if I missed it, or it looks like there's a yearly mortgage report and a yearly deed report. It's listed as 0 for this year and 125 for next year.
So on page 440, which?
Second and the third last in your section.
Oh. So the yearly mortgage report and the deed report were never included in this. I should have actually added that too. And I believe that's probably because it's only for people that ask for it once in a while. We don't have regular customers or signed agreements like we do our other vendors, so we don't really budget for it. It's if somebody wants, like the Journal Times, we used to send them a big spreadsheet. Now we tell them they can go on to the Department of Revenue's website and get the same thing. But if they do want a report, that's what we'll charge to give them. So I added it this year. I'm sorry, I completely forgot about that. Does that make sense?
So it's something we've done in the past and.
Yes, it's something we've done.
But did not charge?
No, we've always charged.
Okay.
But we do it so rarely that I don't think it's just part of an anticipated budget.
So would it be accurate to say the current fee is 125?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Terry, thank you. I applaud you for researching your competition's fees and increasing Racine counties where we are now charging what's in line. And in my prior career, for 35 years, I was in real estate. Thank you for what you've done for the real estate market. These are good numbers and good contributions you're making for Racine County. Thank you. Supervisor Spencer.
Thank you. Hi, Carrie. My question is on page 63, 486130. And I don't know what broad technology is, but I also don't understand why that high number in the 25 revised budget, and then we go down to nothing in 2026. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
ROD stands for Register of Deeds. Technology budget.
Excuse me, Carrie.
I,
Director
I can.
Director Zimmer can answer the question.
This is a non-lapsing account that all the fee, well, a lot of the fees for Landshark or for customers going to purchase images through the website that Carrie has all their documents on, goes into that account with the purpose of using it for future technology. So it's a reserve account. It's a non-lapsing. At the end of the year, we look to see how much is remaining in that account, how much revenue has come in, how much expensive have come out, and carry that budget forward into the next budget. So that happens, in January, February, after the year is closed. That's why it looks like there's a larger revised budget there, because we did a budget transfer to move it forward.
thank you, Gwen.
We're not proposing an original budget for 2026. We will look at what is left over in 2025 and carry that forward into 2026.
Got it. Thank you.
Questions from the committee? Supervisor Caprillion.
Thank you. Page 57. I see that the projected revenue that you have is 341,514, which is about 136% of the budget of 251,500. And you project a higher revenue, and I think you've already touched on this, because I see that there would be a reduction in the tax levy, which is down just a little bit further on there. For the county supervisors in bold, of 65,172. Do you think this level is sustainable? I know you talked about the interest rates and the real estate market.
I do. I think our department has pretty much been average over the course of at least my time there. I don't see a huge decrease. I mean, I feel like last year and the year before was probably the slowest we've probably been, and yet revenues haven't gone down that much. So I would say yes.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Chairman Kramer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Then question probably for Gwen, then under the capital,
Page
57, under the capital, that's the same amount that's in the supplemental registered deeds technology. Is that just part of the entry? It's the same exact amount. I see your head shaking yes. It's that 684,
Yeah.
454.
Yeah, it's sitting on page 63, object code 486130.
Yep.
CP, which stands for Capital ROD Technology. This account was established probably 3 or 4 registered deeds ago. So the long-standing practice has been to use that money for capital or for like technology refresh, which is in our consideration usually capital. So that's why it's been sitting on that capital line. But if it were to be used for something else, that would be a budget transfer from capital to supplies or to software or whatever is being purchased.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Horth?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I look at the numbers, I have really a question, and it could be for either yourself or Gwen, but are there any numbers that are in this? I'm sorry, page 57, my apologies. Are there any numbers in here that are currently for 2025
reflected any place else or coded in another location of this budget?
No. Are you thinking of something specific?
No, I'm thinking on a macro when I heard the statement that we've recoded some things for transparency purposes and what have you.
Oh, understood.
Just for clarification, because when I look at the budget, in all fairness, we're talking about a 17% increase in expenses, almost $100,000 year over year. And so I started to look I asked the question, is any of this someplace else in this plan, like we talked about a moment ago? And I guess the answer is no.
No, there, to the registered use point, there is revenue that is put into the non-allocated revenue, which comes from efforts of her office. It doesn't appear in here, but there is no other expenses that live in any other area of the book.
Thank you.
Supervisor Wishaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to go back to page 440, Carrie. This is just a general question on.
Did you say
440?
Yep, on the fee schedule. This is just a general question again, just to recap. These fees are pretty standard in line with other counties across the state. Are they pretty much in line?
We get together at conferences and that's one big thing that we talk about is our fee structure to make sure that everybody's kind of on the same page. And I think we're right in the middle. Last year I did increase our monthly data report and our land shark monthly fees. And that's another reason why I didn't increase the other fee. But we're in the middle. We're not the highest and we're not the lowest. So I think that we're fair.
Okay, yeah, I guess I kind of followed up with the second question is, I mean, does your office, regardless of who is the registered deeds or not, take a look at these fees, I guess, on an annual basis and make sure that they are kept up with inflationary increases?
I would hope they would.
I mean, because I'm just looking at this,
And
I mean, $1 for a tax deed, I mean, is that fairly standard? I mean,
$1 for a copy is.
right.
Right, and that is a statutory
Right.
amount. Some of these we can't change.
Sure.
But as I said, especially our annual conferences, that's a time where we do collaborate and we talk about fees and structures and what everybody's doing. So I'm guessing everybody before me has been part of that. So I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay, and then I guess this is more just of a generic question. Is there anything, I guess, in your department or budget that you feel that could be streamlined better that would not necessarily hinder service to the public, but may yield a potential savings to the county?
I am looking at innovating the way we deal with customers, like I said, because that's a huge time suck. I don't want to say, we have a lot of people that we have to deal with, and I am looking at bringing in some computer generated applications so the people actually will, instead of filling out hand paper applications for their vital records, I'm going to get two kiosks and they'll actually computerized and then it'll sync to our computers and there'll be less manual typing and which will reduce errors and streamline things. So I'm looking at things like that going forward. So whatever we can do, that's what I like to do.
So what kind of sorry, just one
That's,
more.
that's more than one.
Yeah.
I get a fourth.
She opened the door, so I'm gonna just ask.
Yeah, one more, please.
What is,
You have others need questions.
yep, that's fine. Just, she opened the door, so I'm gonna ask it. What type of cost would that yield then? I mean,
So it's not a cost to the county at all.
not-
It's
okay.
no. It's the fee is transferred to the user. They're gonna pay more for it. But again, that's the trend everybody's going to, and with wanting to do less with more, I think that it's just a smart move that we start looking in that direction. But no, it's not a cost at all to the county.
Supervisor Meyer?
Thank you, Chairman. Carrie, have we thought about implementing a credit card fee
for our customers?
Well, that's kind of what the $5 is for,
Is that on
is
all documents or just some documents?
all documents that they purchase.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Supervisor Preisker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Carrie. I think you and Supervisor Wishaw answered my question a little bit, but I'm wondering, are the fees covering all of our costs of labor, equipment, materials, and subscriptions? And is it possible to indicate where the fees are set by state statute? So we know which ones we actually have control of or not.
The state statute fees are like our recording fees, $30. So every document that record is a state statute, fee of $30 that we can't change. And I think I put that in there, and that's probably another reason why that wasn't in the fee schedules, because it is state statute, we can't change it.
That's the only one that's state statute?
I'm sorry?
That's the only state statute?
No, the copy fees are also state statute driven. For instance, a birth certificate is $20, which is another state statute driven fee. We can't change that. And then $3 for any additional, we can't change that either. So really we don't have a whole lot of control over our fees. Just our reports that we send to people, that you'll see on the fee structure, the $800 fee and the $650 fee. We have control over, but not the copies and not the vital records and not the recording. And a lot of that is what we do.
Yeah.
I know that the state is looking at changing the way we collect and the way the transfer receipt, like I said, we only get 20%. The state is looking at, there is a legislation that is looking at changing that to a 50% fee to the county. We're hoping that happens because that, to my quick estimate, would bring in another $846,000. But we have to wait to see if that goes through. And if that happens, then I will come back and I'll explain that. But to your question, we don't have a lot of control over it.
All right. Yeah, thanks. That answers my one question. Maybe I'll make a comment then, though. So for all of the fee schedule, not just Register of Deeds, it would be helpful for me for the budget process to indicate what fees are set by state statute, which ones aren't. I don't know if that's just a separate column to indicate there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Supervisor Kolb.
I just got a question. Like all the hunting apps and everything seem to be like a copy of our GIS. Do they pay for that to get that information, or is that like a?
Like to use our GIS?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Is there a way we could look into profiting off of that? Because there's like 5 main apps that everybody uses. And I don't know why guys pay for them because the GIS is free, but it is something that a lot of guys use, that if we could turn that into a revenue stream, it's just an idea.
That you'd have to bring up with our land description department. I don't have much to do with that, but we could look at that.
Good suggestion. Anybody else? Supervisor Spencer.
Thank you. You brought up the kiosks and I'm wondering if where are they in here?
I don't have them yet.
Okay.
I'm looking at getting them.
What cost do you expect with that?
Cost to the county?
For the price of the kiosks.
It's not a fee to the county. It's through our software vendor that
Okay.
that handles our vital records right now. It's just part of what they offer. If you have to issue enough. So it's depending upon numbers. So if
Okay.
then it's beneficial for them to put it in, right, without a cost to the county.
I want to make another statement that I fully support your changing a contracted employee into a county employee. There's a lot of value in secure jobs and employer investment in employees. So I fully support that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we've extinguished all the questions from the committee and supervisors. Thank you, Carrie Pope, for your presentation this evening.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on to number C, under number 4C, and this would be the county board. We have page 25. Chairman Kramer.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the county board is pretty much stable. I mean, we're 21 employees and it's not going to grow or until after the census, it might shrink, but that's for future county boards to decide. And with retirements and the full year now reflecting on the retirements, we've actually went down, our expenses went down, not by a lot. I mean, like I say, we're pretty stable, in expenditures. And we haven't seen any, drastic increases in anything we do, the printing and that stuff, we get a lot of paper, so if we, that's, the biggest cost. Out of here also comes the dues for the counties association, and the national. That's up a little bit, projected to be up a little bit to $24,000. So every time you're on the websites or anytime we were with WCA or the magazines or the newspaper that comes from the national, that's where that money comes from, I think. And Supervisor Trotter, Supervisor Spencer, have been with the ambassador program. There's been changes and we're working on the share of 50-50 with the state, with the registered deeds office that just talked. I know Don and I were up there and the more voices at the county government level, that's where we get that money. So I don't recall what Carrie said the benefit would be, but it outweighs the $24,000 that we pay to be members. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or.
Any questions or comments from the committee? I have just a comment, and my comment as we move forward, there is a need for growth in intergovernmental with the municipalities. We as a county need to blend our county board, who are our representatives from different municipalities. We need to listen to the municipalities, their needs, and bring some of their needs back to the county board and provide them information on the services that we provide those municipalities. So there needs to be a connection, I believe, and we're doing a good job. I think it's every other month. Tom, could you explain how
Yeah,
often you
every
get together?
quarterly, the RCICC, the Racine Intergovernmental group gets together, and that's the heads of government from all the counties. County supervisors are always invited. And I try to make as many as I go. And I know we've got really good communications with the town of Norway.
Very good, don't we?
Very good, yeah. But even that, we, Supervisor Wishaw is, on a school district and Supervisor Cadet Kelly, works for Union Grove. So, we get out and talk to people. But it's always a good thing to know who you're representing and, I just had a discussion about that with the group from the Towns Association yesterday. And then it's easier to collaborate. I think get that. So I don't want to
That was just, yeah,
go on and on and on, but
thank you.
you got a good point there.
Thank you. Questions? Any additional questions? Supervisor Capurlian?
Hey, this is really minor, but it stands out, page 31, stands out to me. Youth and governance, how come we are budgeting $500 less?
It's not. Is it?
It's,
I think that's a non-lapsing fund.
Same. 1292,
It's the same.
It's the same.
in the 2026 proposed.
Yeah,
Oh,
the original budget is 12 and then we
Yeah.
made a,
And then while we're on that, we had, and it's run through UW Extension, but I know Glenn, you had some questions when we received those grants for the 2 years for them. Is that showcased anywhere? Okay, very good. Yes, I understood that. Okay. Well then, you're off
Thank
the
you.
hook.
Good.
Kramer.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate that. Next up, I have the County Executive, Ralph Malicki, page 41. Welcome again, Chairman, County Executive.
Hello, Chairman. Not much to report here. There's two of us. So myself and my admin assistant. The big thing that changed was the movement of the RCEDC money and the Discover Wisconsin money over to a cultural account, which was asked to do by the FHR committee here. So we did that. Beyond that, not a whole lot more to report unless you have any other questions.
Questions from the committee for the County Executive? Thank you. Questions from the supervisors? Supervisor Spencer? No? Okay, fine. Okay. I gotcha. Okay. Chairman Kramer?
just a quick question for clarification. On page 49, discretionary account. I don't remember all the transfers we did, but the 2025 revised budget with the $73,000 in it, line 44,000. It's the discretionary account. Do we recall how we why we revised that, or page 49?
Yep, that's a non-lapsing account. So any funds that haven't been used in the previous year are carried forward. And I can note that to date, there's 39,000 remaining in that account.
Okay.
Supervisor Wishaw?
Just point of clarification, what,
Page. Yeah.
same page, same content. What would the, sorry, what would that account be used for?
We use that for the policy forum study that I had commissioned, things like that, things of that nature. Also, I've used it a few times for events or to support like different organizations for sponsorships for the county or that type of thing.
Supervisor Spencer? No? Supervisor Howarth?
Yeah, just maybe a housekeeping item. I noticed you had said that it's yourself and one other individual in the office, yet it shows 3 people down here. Is that who we missing?
One is unfunded chief of staff.
Unfunded.
Yes.
Any additional questions for the county executive? Seeing none, thank you so much. Next I have Clerk of Courts, Amy Vanderhoff, page 247. Welcome, Amy.
My deputy Kirsten has a handout. Unfortunately, ours are not in color because we're trying to save money.
Whoa, I like that. Yeah, whoa.
Actually, we only have so much colored toner up on the 8th floor, so we try to conserve it when we can. Yeah.
Yeah, page, what did I say, page 247? 247.
I'm gonna let him get those handouts out. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So the handout kind of just shows some numbers. Basically, our office is constitutionally mandated, so we have some 2024 numbers, basically showing our expenditures, what our state revenue was for 2024, what our expenditures were, less the state and federal reimbursement, and then what our other revenues that we brought in, leaving our remaining uncovered expenditures, which was one of the reasons why we were lobbying for extra money, additional funds for the clerk of courts. With the Wisconsin Counties Associations, we went this year and really pushed for some additional funding. So we did get that additional 10 million, which we did account for in the budget for next year. So that I'll just go over the intergovernmental revenues for 2026 include the additional, we're projecting it to be about 400,000. So that's what that increase was. And the intergovernmental revenues include that additional circuit court revenue from the state. We have our interpreter reimbursement that we also get. We have a GAL grant, and then we also have our child support grant that we get. So that's where the funding for our intergovernmental revenues come from. And then we have our fees, fines, and forfeitures, which account for the additional revenues that you see on page 253. And then the other accounts for our interest on our judgments, including our accounts, our bank accounts. And then our expenses, which with our personnel services, purchase of services and supplies, leaving a small change from last year. We also requested, we have 3 full-time contracted position. We did request those positions to be converted to full-time county positions. But we thought that was sort of on the back burner. We needed to create an additional jury management clerk for our office. We felt that was more important this year than converting those contracted positions. We've had the 3 that we have in there currently have been there almost 2 years.
Between 2 years and about 1.5 years. So we've maintained those 3. Right now, those positions work for them in their personal lives, not being county employees. We can be a little bit more flexible with their schedules. So for this year, we put it on the back burner and really wanted to focus on providing better customer service to our jurors that contact our office. So that became our main priority.
Yeah, we request from the state, we get about 22,000 jurors every year. So we send out pretty much 22,000 questionnaires. Well, almost 22,000 every year. We don't get all of those back, so we do send up follow-up letters. We get phone calls regarding, excusals, moving jury service. Our jury coordinator has been on the phone nonstop. She leaves her desk to go help with jury stuff. She comes back, she has 10 voicemails. So this is something that we absolutely needed. We actually had some money in our, we had our contracted staff account. And we had 2 unfunded positions, so we actually brought someone in to help out with that, and it has helped tremendously to alleviate some of the stresses and some of the time that she has spent on jury to focus more on supervising and doing some of the other work that she needs to do. If we did not get approval for this new position, we were most likely going to end that contracted position at the end of the year. So we're grateful that if that position does get added. And then, let's see, the handout also has some of our case filings. I just wanted to highlight some specific numbers. I know this was a question that came up. The budget book on page 249 has our case filings per year, and it doesn't specifically highlight each case filing. It just sort of groups them together as civil, juvenile, and criminal. So the handout kind of goes through each case filing and how many we've had per year. What did I do with my handout? And then one other thing I wanted to highlight is our staff. We have a lot of new staff. So training has been a challenge the last few years. Although we are grateful for our contracted staff, we are happy to have our county staff. We have 23 county staff who have been with us less than 5 years. We have a staff, without our court commissioners, we have a staff of about 43. And 23 of those, about half, have been there less than 5 years. Actually, more than half, because 5 of those are contracted staff. So 28 people have been there less than 5 years. So we have a lot of new people. So training has been an issue. We are attempting to cross-train a lot of our staff, especially our support services clerk. We've had some movement. So we have asked some of them if they wanted to move and learn a new area, which a couple of them have shown some interest in that. Another thing I wanted to highlight, which I know I've pointed this out before, is we are already operating at a lean staff for the clerk of court's office. We have some counties listed. Brown County is probably the most comparable to us as far as population, but they still have less caseload and more employees to process cases. And then I also, this county filings comparison on here, I listed that website that has that publication. I know I had, in our budget meeting and in my presentation for government services, I wanted to point out that website that you can go to. It's on the WI Courts website where you can find each county and their filings. And then the last thing. Oh, I have that. The last thing was just a jury, just to kind of show you this year. We've already spent just in our jury software, 110,000 on juries this year. We've had 65 trials that we've actually called in juries for. I think 45 of them have gone to trial. There's been 119 trial days. And I think we've brought in about 1,800 juries just for those trials, or 1,800 people just for those trials. So I just wanted to point out how busy that jury part is. That was it. One of the other things, I know this will probably get brought up. Just with our contracted staff, we did have, like I said, it says we have 6 positions. We do only have 3 full-time and we have 2 part-time positions that we are staffed right now. Like I said, we have that jury one, but that one will end at the end of the year. So when we looked at our contracted non-lapsing staff, we did not completely fill that because we do have money in that account. So that's why you're going to see some blank numbers for the temp help. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Amy. Questions from the committee? Supervisor Shakur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question on page 253, third from the bottom, it's interest income. Just curious, for 2024, you had actual of 34,095. Then the next year, it was what, 10,000? And revised budget was 10,000. Then actual was 22,377. Now you're back to 10,000. What type of account is that? And why is it the fluctuation? So
That's the interest on our bank account. So it
it's a bank
fluctuates.
account.
So it's, yeah. So I don't know that, I don't.
Gwen, might you have any feedback on that?
There's 24,000, about 25,000 in there right now. I don't want to presume on behalf of the clerk of courts, but I have
Yeah.
a feeling we want to be cautious with what we budget there, as interest rates can change, the balances can change quite a bit.
Yeah, our interest or our account obviously goes up and down with the money that's in there. And for a while, I think we were with Johnson Bank. We weren't getting any interest for a while for some reason. So I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah. I don't want to overinflate that, but obviously getting more money is better.
Of course.
If I could budget for more, that would be great, but it's revenue, so.
Is it a CD? Is it a money market? Is it?
No, it's our actual bank account.
Yeah,
Money
they check
coming in and going out,
Checking account,
checking accounts.
small.
So if somebody pays for a bond that's being held while they're waiting for the case to resolve, that it's sitting in their account until it's ready to be paid out, reimbursed, whatever the action is going to be. So they're earning interest on it while it's sitting in that account.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Supervisor Horace.
Supervisor Horth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to refer to page 250 and 254 quickly, back and forth. On 254, it talks about wages that are projected to increase by almost $500,000 year over year. And on page 50, it basically shows equivalent FTEs to what we have right now. So I might be comparing apples and oranges somewhere, but I don't understand how we would show an increase in the wages of $500,000 and actually show an FTE count that's almost the same.
Gonna have to refer to.
That would be line 401000, comparing the 2025 budget of 2.1 million to the proposed 2.3. Correct?
Actually,
Approximately.
41000 is 1847 on the wages for this year, 2.33 for next year.
Well,
And-
I can tell you, I mean, we have unfunded positions. I mean, we have positions that aren't filled right now. And we've had a couple of vacancies this year. So we have had some positions that have gone 1 month, 2 months. I mean, we've had an interpreter position that hasn't been filled all year. So, but that won't account for that much.
Okay, I understand.
And I mean, we have some staff too that have some FMLA leave too, so they're taking some leave, some unpaid time. We have a few staff that have, so I don't know if those wages, because I mean, it shows that it's estimated to be pretty low, so I don't know if that accounts for some of the wage.
I would just offer that when you have a delta that's this significant, we probably should know specifically what that is, because then we're not assuming that there may have been people that were out, or maybe positions that weren't filled, or maybe people on vacation, or whatever the response is, okay?
Yeah.
Just from that standpoint. If
Yep.
nothing else, we'd like to know.
If I may note, just in general, because I have a feeling this question will come up in several areas. The savings between the 2025 estimate and the 2025 budget is what we put into the personnel variance. We estimate how much we think that the vacancies, the unfilled positions, the not being able to find a candidate for a few months, that kind of stuff will become a savings to the whole county. And this year, we're estimating 2.1% of all staff wages in the personnel variance on the contingent org here. So while in the departments, we do budget 100% fully staffed day one, January 1, the anticipated savings for those vacancies is in the contingent area.
Thank you for the clarification. Supervisor Horth, okay? Thank you. Chairman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm looking at Bob's, I'm looking at Bob's number here. Chairman Kramer, excuse me.
I understand what you're looking at. Trust me. On page 253, you know, the circuit court fees and costs on the revenue side. We always, it looks like we budgeted $500,000. And I assume that all the court fees for child support going all the way down to, you know, down to the surcharge of 5%. That's all, when you add those all together, that would add up close to the $500,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we didn't work, so far our projected ones, obviously, they're not gonna hit the $500,000, you know, with the estimated 2025. Is there, in the past, have we hit $500,000 all the time, or is that just, you know what I'm saying? Are we overestimating that revenue?
It's hard to estimate.
Yeah, I would guess, you know,
It's a hard,
but I'm just, you know,
Yeah.
I'm playing the devil's advocate here, you know.
yeah, depending on, I mean, with restitution, it's hard to estimate how many cases are gonna have restitution, so that surcharge could be more, could be less each year. The 5% surcharge could be more, could be less each year. We try to estimate as best we can.
Okay, but the circuit court fees and costs, those are, it looks to me like those are pretty stable.
Yes,
The majority of that number, okay.
yes.
And again, it was a cold day in January when we went up to Madison, and we were successful that
Yeah.
day.
Yes.
That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Supervisor Preisker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm getting concerned on both sides regarding fees. On the one hand, I'm having people specific to your budget say, well, we should just be collecting more fees and tickets. You know, we should do a better job in collecting the fees. On the other hand, I have people saying, you know, the county is increasing 160 individual fees, and that's a bad thing. So my question for you is similar to the question that I asked earlier, which is, are our fees covering our costs of labor, materials, equipment, and subscriptions? And can we indicate which of them, if any, are set by state statute, just so we know that that's basically an out of our control fee?
Most or all of our fees are set by state statute. The only fees that are not are the ones that are in the back of the book.
And the variation in whether we collect them or not is basically the negotiating process as part of people's, court proceedings, essentially, right?
Correct. Court proceedings, if judges are waiving fees, if people can pay their fees, we do whatever we can to collect. So we're sending them to state debt collection, we're sending letters, we're doing everything we can to collect.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Kolb.
Page 249, the dollar amount collected by paid fines, we're showing a $200,000 loss from the county ordinance ones from 2020 to 2024. But we're kind of showing the same increase on the state. Was there something changed that our fines are being written by where the state's getting 50% of the revenue? Or was that like an ordinance change or something changed by the state that would, because it's $200,000 in income?
You're talking about, I'm sorry, the 2024 to 2020,
Yes.
and you're talking about the state county?
Yeah, because like I say, if you look at like the county ordinance fines, we're at $1 million. In 2024, we're down to 800,000.
Those are citations.
Yeah, but how come, is there like speeding tickets or something that the state law changed that the money's going to the state?
Speeding tickets, so any violation
It goes to
of
the
state
state.
statute goes into the state and county part because part of the money goes to the state for those. Any citation that's written in violation of a county ordinance, we get the money for. So
So
that's the difference between those two columns. So the dark blue, those are gonna be all tickets where we're receiving the revenue because we have a county ordinance that the person violated. Whereas if it's just a traffic ticket where they violated state law, the state gets a portion of those funds.
but is this on the county sheriff's department that we're down 200,000 in ordinance?
Yeah, so on the handout I think it's one of the last pages, it says traffic ordinance violation case filings. It sort of shows the history. So prior to COVID, we were estimating 24,000, even as high as 30,000 in 2016, I believe, citations. And since COVID, we've been estimating between 14 and 16,000. So it is down. That's not a question for me.
Right. That's not a question here tonight. I have a question, Amy.
Yes.
Page 466. Help us understand the capital improvement requests, specifically first floor courtroom ceiling, AV courtroom tech upgrade, sixth floor courtroom AV, DA victim witness reimbursement, refurbishment. Help me understand the request for those capital improvements. Is this really deferred maintenance and should this all be done at the same time? Can we do parts of it? Help me understand.
So the first floor courtroom ceiling was a facilities management request. Apparently the ceiling tiles are falling off of the ceiling.
So are they?
I believe so.
You witnessed, okay, good.
Yes. So that was a request by them. The AV courtroom tech upgrade. So we are looking at upgrading. The original request that I put in was upgrading all of our jury courtrooms, but obviously we can't do all of them because I don't have any place to put our courts while they're being upgraded. So we requested to have 3 of the courtrooms done next year. So that's what that money was allocated for. So we're gonna do the 3 felony courtrooms, and this is gonna upgrade the technology to have better sound systems and technology available in the courtrooms for viewing exhibits. And then, which may help with storing our exhibits also, because our software with the state has the ability to have the exhibits filed through the software. And if we can get them filed that way, it's easier for us to upload them and they're right in the case. And then they can actually be presented right on the screen at that point in time. So I'm excited for that one. And I think the DA's office is actually excited for that one too. And then the 6th floor courtroom, that upgrade just goes along with the 6th floor courtroom was approved last year to be upgraded, and we didn't get all of the funding for that. So the AV upgrades would include that courtroom also to improve the sound system in that They do a lot of video appearances in that courtroom. Michael could attest to that. I think he's about to. So there's a lot of feedback. There's a lot of remote appearances for that courtroom. So I think it's desperately needed. And since we were doing, upgrading that courtroom anyway, and they wanted to, since they were gonna run the wires and do everything, they wanted to get that sound system upgraded also.
Are you able to recall the last time some of these upgrades were completed?
They did make some upgrades, I believe, to the sound system in 2017 to improve some of the sound. But now, when COVID hit and us using the polycoms and the freestanding TVs in the courtroom, it just isn't feasible. There's other counties that have much better systems for presenting evidence and doing things for jury trials.
Great. Attorney Lansdorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to add on, and Amy did a nice job of addressing that. There may be some confusion because there was in some of our earlier meetings, because you'll see multiple entries for the 6th floor courtroom. As Amy indicated, it was part of the 2025 approved budget. There was a package for $450,000. Not enough to complete that project. So the first entry that you see for the clerk of court 6th floor courtroom refurbishment year 2, $50,000. That's the amount necessary to complete that single project. And then to Amy's point, it wouldn't make sense to go in, do all of this work, and then have to come back, disrupt that courtroom, disrupt the proceedings in that courtroom another time in order to address the AV equipment and the other needs of that courtroom at a later date in a later year. And so these are additional projects, but it just makes sense to do it while that single courtroom is disrupted. And then also, as Amy indicated, this is a courtroom, given that they tend to the probate court, it's one of the few proceedings where they still rely almost exclusively on virtual proceedings, specifically for Chapter 51, Chapter 54, and Chapter 55. These are mental health commitments, protected placement, guardianship proceedings. It's not at all uncommon. And again, it's almost 100% of the time, somebody will be appearing virtually. And given some of the shortcomings in that courtroom where there's loud noises throughout, it's very difficult to hear people. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's more urgent than other courtrooms. Felony, you'd probably hear the district attorney say that needs in those courtrooms are more present, but it is a real challenge, and it just makes sense to do it all at the same time while that courtroom is already under repair.
Thank you. Supervisor Kelly.
Thank you. Could we go back to the number of positions again that you wanted to add? Did you say 2? I just want to make sure I heard you correctly.
Just one position, just the jury clerk.
Okay, then I'm trying to figure out the math, and then maybe you can help me with this. So the 2026 proposed amount on page 254 is the 2,331,455. If you're looking at the 25 revised budget numbers, the difference is 216,082. If you look at the original budget numbers, they're 236,383. So that's pretty substantially higher for the number of people you said. So can somebody break that down for me?
For the wages, you said?
Yeah.
Well, our wages still, like I said, have our interpreter position. We still have that position posted, so we're still attempting to hire an interpreter.
Is there a breakdown somewhere of that position line that somebody could provide me? Could be.
Yeah, we can get that sent
Yeah.
out to the full board. We'll get a list
what
of all of
makes-
the people who are put in that area.
Like what makes up that 2,331,450?
Yep.
Thank you.
And I want to say, I think with our wages too, we have on-call bailiffs too for our wages. So a lot of times we might overcalculate the wages for them because we have no idea how many hours they're gonna work. So I think that might be calculated in there too. Again, I don't know how much we calculate for those, the wages. Typically, we don't calculate those, but I think that's accounted in our budget. Because we have 6 on-call jury bailiffs and 5 court attendants, so they account for part of those wages too.
Okay, yeah, I'm a visual learner, so if I could just get that breakdown emailed to me, that'd be great.
Excellent. Um, Director Street, did you want to comment?
Yes, also the wages line in all the departments would have gone up. So if you'll remember, for this year, we froze the merit increases. So we'll be bringing back merit increases in 2025. So that would probably attribute to part of the increase.
Thank you. Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you. I'd like to go back to, hear me, I'd like to go back to you were talking about fines, fees, forfeitures. Help me understand that. So when there's a speeding ticket, it becomes part of your collection?
Yes.
Okay, is that what this remaining uncovered expenditures is, or is that something different?
No, the county ordinance forfeitures in our budget line item, which is on page 253 under the 311050 county ordinance forfeitures. That's where our ticket and forfeitures come in.
Interesting. Is there like a bad debt write-off after something's been on there for a while? How does that work? Is it just
Oh,
stay there?
if it goes unpaid,
Yes,
yeah, it's 20 years.
20-year.
Continue to try to collect for 20 years.
Yep.
And the Department of Revenue is involved. The state created the state debt collection, which all 72 counties use for court collection of fees, fines, and forfeitures. So they have the ability to freeze bank accounts, to take tax returns, and that is how we end up getting a lot of our older debt paid, is through tax returns coming in from the Department of Revenue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Spencer.
Thank you. I guess I don't have a page. I'm wondering, I understand the interpreter position. I'm wondering where the cost of the interpreters that you're using is? Is that in some general?
Yep.
Okay.
It's
And can you tell what those costs are?
It's on 254 under, about middle of the page, 409, 105.
491. Oh, okay.
So you can see with our interpreter position, we normally budget for right around 110, 105,000. But currently the estimate is looking at 186,000 because those cases that would normally go to the outside interpreters or would go to the in-house interpreter are going to outside interpreters.
Thank you. I have another question. This is regarding the sixth floor courtroom AV system, update. That might be a long shot, but can we get the captions by specific languages?
We can request
Then-
anything we want.
And requested.
Just a thought.
A lot of the hearings are conducted by Zoom, which have a language feature where the interpreter can communicate directly with the non-English speaking party. And it mutes the other sounds so that it's better communication between the interpreter and the party that needs the interpreter. And we do often conduct most of those hearings by Zoom. The state supports Zoom through CCAP, our software from the state. So that's something that we use frequently.
And these new upgrades will hopefully, some of the Polycom systems don't work well with the interpreter program in the Zoom function, so.
And then it goes back to the interpreter cost. It's typically more cost effective for us to utilize an interpreter by Zoom. And we find that the party likes it better because it's easier for them to communicate. So we're hoping that the upgrades will make it easier for us to continue using Zoom on interpreter cases when appropriate for cost on that too.
Thank you. Chairman Kramer.
Thank you. Just a comment on fines and forfeitures, county versus, non-county. A share always comes to the county on any traffic fine. And I know at one time we were converting a lot, so that would be a district attorney's question as to how many fines we're making a local ordinance violation that we keep 100% for.
I will say, based on, I don't have any numbers directly in front of me, the sheriff's department does issue a lot of direct county forfeiture tickets. We're seeing a lot of possession of marijuana tickets now that it's legal in Illinois. They're pulling someone over on I-94 and they're finding them in possession of that. And that is in violation of the county ordinance. So when they're found guilty of that ticket, we receive the funds. The DA's office does also, if they're pulled over for speeding, will sometimes amend citations to the county ordinance so that we receive the funds. So if someone doesn't have a record, they may amend a traffic ticket of some kind to a stopping, standing, parking, which is a restriction ordinance. So it's a mix of both. The sheriffs are writing county ordinance tickets and traffic violations are being amended too.
Right, and that's kind of a discretion of the district attorney or the deputy on this, so. You know, that's a little out of our lane, but that may be the difference, that a philosophy has changed or. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I believe we have extinguished all the questions. Amy, thank you very much. Oh, excuse me, Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chair. Last question, and this is more so a question for Sarah, or Director Street, excuse me. The merit raises, are they always in the form of reclasses? I see a lot of reclasses in here, so could you speak to that?
Form of reclasses. I'm not sure where you're seeing reclasses. Can you give me a page number?
Yes. I lost my spot.
So while you're looking, I'll just, employees would receive a performance evaluation, and the score of that evaluation would then dictate the percent increase they would get. So they would get from a 0 to a max of 3% based on their performance evaluation.
Okay, thank you. And so, for example, page 250, if we look at interpreter SP, we see that the 2025 position is vacated, and then on the E040 class, and then there's an N103 class, so I assume that's just a reclass.
Yeah, her position, that's one of the reasons she left, because it went to a non-exempt position. It went from exempt to a non-exempt.
Okay.
And then the other positions were due to the, they were reclassed.
I missed the page number, Supervisor
250.
Rossi. 250?
We had some of our supervisors were in that threshold and they were reclassed.
I believe that those reclasses, along with the interpreter, were the subject of resolution number 2024-73.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Thank you. Okay, thank you again for your presentation and your time. And we're going to move on to information technology, page 156. We have Director Robert Villarreal here making the presentation. Good evening, Robert.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Robert Villarreal. I've had the pleasure of meeting a few of you, and I look forward to meeting the rest of you going forward. I am acting as interim Director of Information Technology. I've been in the position for about 2.5 months, and I appreciate the time and opportunity to help you guys, help the county in general, and help the executive to run this department as best as we can. So wanted to start off by understanding a few statistics of the support that we provide for the county. We provide close to 1,600 application users, mostly Tyler Munis, which is our ERP software. We have about 1,450 network users, not including public Wi-Fi. And fully licensed users, we are close to about 1,300 for the county. So we support all of those individuals. That includes the Microsoft 365 suites of productivity suites. Some of the devices that we support, laptops, desktops, computing devices, we're approximately 1,500 devices that we support, about 1,100 landline phones, 500 cell phones, and about 250 computers. So we are charged with making those operations and those devices run as effectively as possible. Some of the support tickets that we have seen for this year, we've seen about 5,100 handled by courthouse IT so far this year. We expect to run about 600 or 6,500 for the year, excuse me. Tickets handled by HSDIT, about 1,100, and some after-hours tickets. So we run a 24/7 operation. We've handled about 449 tickets so far this year. That's probably about a 15 to 20% drop from what we've seen last year. So good headway there. I'll talk about some of the challenges that we face in the IT budget. So obviously, we run a 24/7 support function. We've seen about 100% annual growth in the public safety data storage needs. So we're able to support those storage needs. Cybersecurity, right? This is something that I think everybody kind of hears about when you hear about IT, but the costs are rising. The threats are not getting any lighter. The threat landscaping is evolving faster. It's a cat and mouse game. And so we have to play a little bit more cat, a little bit less mouse. And that takes skill. It takes investment in our infrastructure. And obviously, there's a nationwide cybersecurity skills gap. So we do rely on our contractors to keep us apprised of a lot of the recent developments that we see with cybersecurity threats. Some of the challenges that we also face are around staffing. One of the proposals that you'll see here is that we have moved a couple of the unfunded positions to create department leads. So we want to be able to create an infrastructure lead, cybersecurity lead, and a service desk lead. So the way that we were organized before did not have that structure. And I feel, and from my experience, that we're able to provide better services, better leadership, better direction, better efficiencies when we have that leadership for the individual departments. So you'll see that as part of the positions as we go forward. One of the things that we really want to do is we want to improve and build upon the skills development. Specifically, when you talk about infrastructure or information technology, the advances happen so quickly that it's really important for our team members to be trained into the latest information technology news and updates that we have. So we do want to spend a little bit of effort and time to be able to get those skill sets up to market levels. And one of the biggest costs that you'll see are software costs. The software costs continue to rise on every segment that we've seen for our subscriptions. The trend is for higher costs associated with it. Just about every type of solution that we have is going to a SaaS model or software as a service model, where you're paying constant fees in order to have the latest and greatest. Just about every solution is moving towards that. One of the things that we're doing in order to be able to reduce those costs or have those costs be more predictable is taking a look at longer term contracts. So it helps our vendors and it helps us to really understand and keep a cap on those costs. So that's something that we want to move forward. As we move forward, something that we definitely want to be able to negotiate is those longer term contracts for our specific solutions. Another trend that we're seeing is moving to cloud-based and managed solutions. That means is that we don't hold the data on the premises and it's managed 24/7. So when our technicians aren't here, we're able to get those threats being able to be done by somebody else, and then put temporary countermeasures in place, and then we can come up with a solution. So that's something that a lot of the technology is moving towards, and I feel that for the county, that's something that we should definitely pursue. Some of the greatest changes that we've seen in the core budget this year, obviously, we're going to get some questions, and I'll dive a little bit deeper into this, but it's software subscription costs. So last year is 2.48 revised. It was 2.1 at the very beginning. This year, it's 2.93. Now, a lot of those costs were associated with the the approval that this board made earlier in the month that, or earlier in the year, excuse me, that we plan to be able to implement for the rest of 2026 and for the next 5 years, since it's a 5-year contract. One of the other line items that you'll change is that you'll see is the technical support going from 225,000 to 245,000. That is just raising the technical services. So this is contractor services from our vendors to be able to provide specific project-based services. That's just going back to the previous levels of 23 and 24. And then hardware maintenance, we did lower it in 2025. It was 75,000, and it's 135,000 for this year. So we do want to go back to those previous levels that we had in previous years, since we did a one-time reduction for 2025, and you'll see that there. So one of the major subscription expenses that we talk about. So this is the big line item that we have. Microsoft product licensing, both for our servers as well as the D365 environment. So that's about 570,000 invoiced annually. This year it's 706,000. So we're looking to make those costs steady going forward. And I think that we've done that with the latest contract with our vendors. The virtualization software and system, this is what I mentioned before that this board passed earlier this year. So this year it's 722,000, but going forward it's going to be 950,000 per year. But that is a 5-year contract with 2 years optional at the very end. The email filtering, about 150,000 per year. Our firewall services, 262 per year. Multi-factor authorization, so this is a insurance and compliance requirement, is $99,000 per year. And privileged access management, once again, this is insurance and compliance requirement, about $30,000 per year. So this is giving you a little breakdown of the subscription budget. And then our data validation tool, which is also an insurance and compliance requirement, is about $120,000 per year. We're in the midst of negotiating that contract, so we're hoping to get something perhaps a little bit lower and more predictable in the future. So once again, we're trying to push for those longer term contracts where it gives us stability on the expense side from our end, but it also allows our vendors to have the relationship long term to be able to cap those expenses. Because what we've seen with software contracts, the shorter term, the companies know that they have negotiating leverage. So for us, having longer term contracts definitely helps out from a cost perspective. And that's something that we really want to try to be able to do going forward. Chairman Trotter, I didn't know if you wanted to go into the capital expenses as well.
I will leave that up to, thank you for asking me. I will leave that up to the committee and the supervisors to ask those questions. Thank you. Or, excuse me, is there anything specific you want to address beforehand?
I just wanted to preempt any questions that the board members might have on those, the capital, so I can go into as much or little detail as.
Okay, let's start there then. Any of the committee have questions about the capital? Supervisor Miller?
That was going to be my first question. If you could just, it's on 465. You could just run through it quickly.
Yep. Yes, sir. We will start, I have them in a different order. So I will start with the IT infrastructure and cyber refresh, 475,000. So this was part of a third-party mapping of our network endpoints. So network servers, network switches, and they do have an end of life. We've identified close to about 100 devices that are end of life or coming up on end of life for the next year and a half that will need to be replaced. And those devices, they have a certain shelf life, and we have to be able to keep those to the current current status in order to be able to have our security protocols and our firewalls kept up to date. So that's what that is, that's for. The IT tech refresh, $350,000. That is more towards endpoint devices. So think laptops, think computers. Since we purchased those for the county outright, they are on a cycle to be refreshed every 3 to 4 years as they come off of warranty. So just the 2025 refresh is 350,000. So this does not include the 2026 refresh, which we've left out of this budget, which would have been closer to about 750,000 for any devices that are going out of warranty. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the devices are bad. It's just that they're going out of warranty. So we decided to, for the purpose of budget, is to have the smaller amount that we definitely need to replace. So that's the 350,000 that you see there. We also have 50,000 for the IT break fix fund. So these are devices that break for the courthouse as well as the HSD building. So they're broken out into two different sections right there. And that's 50,000 each. And those are the first two line items that you see on page 465. The next item that you see is the IT backup storage tapes. So this is gives us the ability to increase our capacity to store data onto the tape drives. So currently, right now, we have the ability to store everything every data byte that we have gets stored automatically, and it takes 4 days to write all that data. We do it once per week. By having this ability, we're able to reduce that time that it takes to write down to 2 days. So going from 4 days to 2 days, and we do that every single week to back up our data for the county. So by being able to do this will give us the ability to double the speed. And if we have a catastrophic loss of data, depending on the type of data that we want to retrieve, it'll speed up by twice the amount of time in order to be able to retrieve that data. So it gives us the ability to write faster, which will free up a lot of bandwidth on the writing side, which we do on a week in, week out basis. And if we have to retrieve sensitive information, it gives us the ability to retrieve that information twice as fast as our current abilities. So that's what we're getting for the 50,000. We also, we did several RFPs. The ones that we chose to put on this budget are the IT phone system replacement at 675,000. And I'll speak to that one individually. So our phones are from 2012. They are very old technology. And this seems like a lot, the 675,000, but we've identified about $183,000 worth of yearly operational savings that we would get once the system is implemented. So this would be bringing the phones up to current technology, obviously using VoIP. But what we do is we reduce our operational needs by about 183,000. So we're looking at about a 3.5-year payback for this one-time expenditure on the 675,000. So if you take a look at our phones now, it's 2025. We installed them in 2012. So if we're able to take that forward along the same line, so we're able to get about 9.5 years payback at about 183,000. So in the course of the next 15 years for the county, it'll be a savings of about $1 million in operational savings. So that's something that we wanted to put forward and we want to try to get done. The other one is the IT, the copper phone study. So this is 50,000. So this is the maximum amount that we would spend in order to do an engineering study to figure out where all of our copper lines are located. So we use certain copper lines for alarm systems, for elevators, and then just other places where we are using that legacy technology. This would be to get a study to figure out where those endpoints are located, what their uses are, and then bring them up to modern standards so that we're able to save on operational expenses year in and year out. Right now, we just don't know where those endpoints are. So this is on the high end right here. And we don't know exactly what the savings would be, but we do know that they're not insignificant. So this is for a study to be able to do that study. That's what that capital is for. And then the 225,000, this is for the sheriff's substation for the entire project, which is ongoing. And this is to be able to put the dark fiber and do the moves, because we've got to do several moves back and forth as we are building the sheriff's substation.
Thank you. Questions from committee? Supervisor Caprillion.
Thank you. If we can go back to 162, 163, we're gonna look at the bottom of the page and then the following page in child support. I know you talked about subscription increases, so I'm assuming this just follows order with subscription increases because there's a substantial one here. But then you see equipment of $90,000. And I'm not seeing that broken out anywhere in capital. And is this something, if you can talk about that increase of $90,000 and what equipment are we looking at? And I also see that there is a note that we do have a 66%, which is reimbursed, federally reimbursed. So I don't know if that's just on the equipment.
No, it's on the entire expense of the child support, that 14062,000. So the 66% would be for the entire amount.
Is that ongoing? And what is the equipment?
Believe that's for the replacement of the laptops for the child support attorneys and staff. And then that 2/3 federal match, I believe that's what you're referring to. But then there's also some of the other items came about as a result of an audit 2-3 years ago, where there were some increased security measures, privacy measures that were findings that had to be implemented in subsequent years.
So being that this is equipment, and laptops and whatnot, is that not something that could be budgeted out? I mean, we probably have so much life on those. So to have this one time, this 90,000, I mean, we can predict for years to come instead of having this hit us one time. I mean, granted, we have 60-some thousand paid for, but we still have an additional cost that hasn't been projected or budgeted out in previous years. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And Robert, I'm not sure if you're able to address it in part. Otherwise, we could pose that question to Jeff Leggett tomorrow night.
Right.
I know that in the budget planning for this year, this was something that was flagged by IT, and that it may have to do with the life cycle of the equipment for the child support staff, that they were due for replacement. And so that was triggered through discussions with IT, but that's the extent to which I can describe it. But
So
perhaps
if that's the case, I would assume moving forward, we'd be seeing this line item, at least projecting for future equipment doesn't last forever. So there's probably a schedule of deterioration, or what is the word I'm looking for in accounting? Yes, depreciation. Yes, thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Caprillion.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you. Questions? Committee? Supervisor Horth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Obviously a lot of pressure when we talk about expenses. And I'm sorry, I'd like to bring your attention to page 160. And something that jumped off at me was the fact that we're going to now propose, $210,000 in revenue where we have never done any revenue per se in the past. I just want you to know that I appreciated the answer that was given on that advanced question, because clearly you have done some homework and you've determined that there's an opportunity out there for us to increase a revenue stream by the way it's being recommended. So more or less than anything, I'd like to just compliment you on that response and the fact that that's the kind of answer that tells us, okay, now I understand why you have $200,000 in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Horth, we spoke about that, you and I. Questions? Chairman Kramer.
Just a comment on, not so much the revenue, but if you take a look at the levy impact and go to the subscription fees, it's relatively the same number, $940,000. You know, and that, I guess that puts everything into, a big ball. That connects the circle. So just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Kramer. Looks like, can I say we've exhausted? No, I have Supervisor Wishaw.
Thank you, Chairman. This is just more of a generic question on page 465 under your capital. Again, just going back to the IT phone system replacement. I guess out of everything you have listed there, I mean, obviously that's more or less probably the biggest expense. Just to kind of recap again, are you classifying this more as a want versus a need? I mean, again, I know you said most of this is 2012. Yeah, the technology is old, but I mean, is this an immediate, like, yeah, we absolutely need to do this, or do you think we can still, if worse came to worse, we needed to make some adjustments to this budget? Is this something that we could potentially say, yeah, we're comfortable with pushing this off?
It's something that we can discuss. The reason I added this one in there is because it did have a 3.5-year payback. So it adds, as we look to cut operational expenses on a year in, year out basis, this one just jumped out to say, okay, with the 3.5-year payback, if you're in a private business, that makes sense.
Sure.
Right. And I come from a business background. I used to run business at my previous position. I was a CEO of a medical device company. So when we take a look at capital expenditures, one of the things we take a look at is the efficient use of that capital to be able to offset some recurring operational expenses. And this one is just, it's almost a no-brainer, just to be honest with you, for the 3.5-year payback. Now, we're also working to try to be able to incorporate some negotiation into the RFPs, and I'm working with the purchasing department in order to be able to even decrease or get more bang for the buck as we're using this capital. But in order to do that, just like in any negotiation, I need to have a little bit of leverage, right? By being able to provide this, I'll have that leverage.
So just quick follow-up. So the 675, is that is worst case scenario? You're potentially hoping that it would be significantly less based off of what you just said is potential negotiations, right?
Potential negotiations, or I'll be able to have different services or more services that would have cost more capital thrown in for that price.
Okay. So if that number decreased, what would you do with that savings then? What would you do with that?
That's a question for Gwen or the treasurer, but we wouldn't use that capital.
Yeah, typically projects that have funds remaining after they're closed are swept into completed capital that can either be reallocated by the county board for a new project or moved to debt service to make a payment, call some debt early, or build that debt service reserve.
Yeah. So the 675 is worst case scenario with some upside that we're still working out with our purchasing team.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm glad you're so enthusiastic and welcome, but I gotta say, I've never seen someone so excited to present a 29% total expense increase. You're talking about increases in software, increases in contracted services, increases in hardware costs, Microsoft server licensing increases, the contract that we agreed to here, the virtualization software increases. I'm hoping you can find places to cut. It's a story that I've heard too many times. I don't know about everyone else here, where we need to spend more to save more, which is, it's just an interesting calculation. And then plus the capital ask that you have, this is just not at all what I expected. I understand you're new, so please don't take this the wrong way.
Absolutely.
But I'm really hoping you can look at this from a different way, especially coming from someone who is, just my business. we're reducing our reliance on contracted services just through the use of AI to troubleshoot simple problems. And I'm sure you've seen something like that. So more so a comment, hoping that you can find areas to reduce this. I'm going to be looking for areas to cut costs specifically in this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. We've exhausted, I believe. Robert, thank you so much for your time and your presentation.
Thank you, members of the board.
Okay. Next on my list, we have Public Works and Development Services, which incorporates highway, development services, parks, land info, golf, land conservation. Director Boehm, you can take the lead and you can present in what order you want to. I don't know how you have lined up your different departments.
I've
but-
actually got a PowerPoint,
Okay,
so we can load that up. I was also told if it was past 7, we wouldn't have to go. So
well, I was going to take a break, but that break may last too long for people involved in the game. So let us just continue to roll and take our time with this presentation and see where the game lasts in the 3rd or 4th inning.
So what you guys are getting is basically it's a capital ask. It's a total of what we asked and what we received in the capital. And I'll get to that in a little while to let you know why we gave that to everyone. We're going to start with development services, and basically how I have this PowerPoint is presenting is basically what we had last year, what we had this year. That way, hopefully we can answer some of the questions as we go along. I'll do development services first. You guys can ask your questions then, and Brian can go home. And then we're going to go back to, I think it's land conservation after that. So basically what we're looking at for development services, we have total expenditures for the 2026 of $705,000. That's going to be down $3,500 from 2025. Revenues of $245,000. That's going to be down $8,000 from 2025. Keep in mind, this is projected right now. 2025 isn't over yet. And obviously we're not going into 2026. So what Brian does for projecting, he goes by a 5-year average, and then that's what he does for that projection for revenues. For a net levy requirement, $460,000. That's going to be up $5.1 thousand from 2025. So, and then we have a cost recovery of 34.8%. Primary revenue sources is zoning, permit fees, and sanitary fees. So that's what we got. And you can see the graph right next to it. At the end of the day, they're actually fairly close of what they are. And basically, it's going to be the shortfallings of the revenue. But we actually see a savings, and that's going to be in staff. We had some staff turnover last year. We had a very vacant position. And then people coming in this year are getting paid less. And so that's where you see that with the total expenditures of $705,000 versus the $709,000. Can we go to the next slide? This is golf division. So I'm going to ask any questions out there. I also do have a sheet, and you guys are more than welcome to I didn't print this out for everyone because I wasn't sure if anyone, this is basic development services. And in the orange, we have an increases and the decreases if everyone wants to see. So we have a 2025, a 2026. So you get where we're coming up with the budget if anyone wants. So I just wanted to make sure that in case anyone wanted that, they can have this. It might be able to help answer their questions. So any questions for myself, Brian, or Tara?
Questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I just suggest that you just email that to the full board.
Sure. The chart you just held up. Yes, sir. Questions? Questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Preisker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director Bond. I'll ask a similar question again, right? Gotten some criticism that the county is increasing 160 individual fees. So are our fees covering our costs? And can you indicate, I guess, in future budgets or presentations, any that are set by state statute?
The zoning department, code administration department, we did a fee adjustment. It was 2 years ago, I believe. And basically what we're sitting right in the middle of where we should be on most of our fees. Brian, I'm not sure if you can, I guess, add into that.
We have no projection or desire to increase fees for next year. However, there is a call right now at the WCCA, Wisconsin County Code Administrators. We're doing a statewide gathering of other counties' fees, and that study will be done sometime next year to see where we fit in there. But right now, we're in the middle of all game.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Shakur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question on the golf. Golf path improve, no. Oh, wait a minute.
Page.
Look too quick. Bunkers. That's
Okay, you want to?
Yeah, wait, yeah, we're on development.
jumping too fast.
You're jumping too fast.
You're
One
excited
moment.
about that.
One moment, one moment, please.
You gave it to me at the same time.
Okay. Are we good with development? Thanks, Brian. Okay. Golf.
Okay, golf, basically the highlights, expenditures are down 3,000 for golf. Revenues are also down 3,000 for golf. Golf is something that it's with an enterprise account, everything equals out with golf. I'm not sure if there's a second, then the second page, we basically have a capital page. You want to go to the next slide. This is the capital that we had for golf. All their capital is basically paid by the golf reserves. And so whatever they have for reserves, that's what they can get inside capital. So there's not a lot, I guess, to it. I don't have all the financials with me on hand. I can certainly get that. And if you have any questions out of the book, Tara can answer that for you.
I believe, yes, we are. Thank you, Supervisor Horth. Supervisor Shakur,
Yes, sir.
you're up.
Question on the bunkers for the golf course. Is this both Browns Lake and also the Ives Grove? This what that what money was?
Bunkers, where are you referring
Third
to?
one, the sheet they passed out.
Okay,
The bunkers, that was not approved, if I believe, correct, that was not approved into the budget. So that's inside the handout. That's one of the items that was not approved during the capital. So if you're looking at next to it, it's going to say a $0 amount
Yeah.
next to it. So that was going to be just for Browns Lake Golf Course, I believe.
We need the hand up here.
up here. Please, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
And that's all he does, might add.
Okay, I was just curious why it would be none. I mean, why?
So we went over with Pete, and Pete gave his priorities on what he was looking for inside of it. And so basically with the amount of reserves that we had, that's what we could afford. Obviously, he would have liked to have all of it, but that's what the reserves he had. And what we still needed some cushion inside that golf account.
Well, for those that don't know, who is he? Who is Pete?
Pete Idle. Pete runs the golf
I know
course.
that, but okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
So he is the owner and operator of Ives Link Golf Course.
And if I could just add about the reserves, this is an enterprise fund, so it is a business, it's ran like a business. Any net profit gets added to reserves for future capital. And so when we met with the county executive and with the director BAME on what the priorities of the capital projects were, we were looking at that reserve balance, didn't want to go over it, didn't want to propose bonding, taking on debt for any of these projects. So what was approved was priority based on what funds were available.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions on golf?
Let's go play.
Hearing none. Next.
All right, next one.
Director Bame.
And Chris, come up here. All right, next is our big department. It's our highway division.
Page 187.
187. This is you're not going to see as many pages as you think it's at our highway division, just because if we were to put, it'd basically be a budget book if we were to print out all of our accounts inside there. So you're getting a sum of what everything is. So the budget highlights total expenditures. It's going to be 26,500,000. It's going to be up 1.4 million from 2025. I'm going to get into the meat of that, the reason why we're there. Revenues are going to be up 540,000 in 2025, and net levy requirements are going to be up 793,000 from 2025. And the reason why we're up that 1.4 million is, although in highway specific alone, we came in under budget. However, the only reason why we came in under budget is because we keep staff on capital. And that staff, so basically what we're going over budget inside of that is in our machinery, fixing our equipment, and our basically our maintenance for our roads, for our materials. So this is making us whole for those two items right there. And so that's going to be, and we want to make sure that we have enough materials coming going forward and be able to fix all our equipment going forward. So that's where that 1.4 million is coming from. Additionally, we're going to have some more revenues out of that, basically $540,000. And not on this slide, but we are also looking to add, but fund 3 positions for that. And basically by funding those 3 positions, we're going to be able to get our guys on state work a lot more. Right now, we weren't doing a lot of state work. We're short staff, and we're going to be putting these people on state work. For example, last week, we had Kenosha County doing paving for us on some of our state work for this, where they're using our RMA funding for on our roads, and they're getting that RMA funding. So they're pulling their guys off the levee using our RMA instead of us pulling our guys off the levee using our RMA. So that's where some of those funds are coming from. Next slide. These are some of the approved projects for capital that we had. We had some chip sealing, we had some culvert repair, Rochester Dam, Highway C, bridge design, Highway G 51st to the West Frontage Road, Highway U 20 to K design. We can go one more. Highway C, Ohio City Ferry, that's a big one, 1.5 million. Highway C, Newman to 31 at 350,000. Highway K is a Hyssop, it's a roundabout. That's just going to be acquisition only for $85,000. Highway W, pavement design, that's for $100,000. Some dam engineering, that's going to be a lot of our operational costs. So we have dams, we have 6 dams, actually 7 dams. We have to always pay for different inspections on them, repairs on those dams, and that's what that comes out of. Highway safety improvements. So basically that's going to come out of, there's something called TIAs. And whenever there's a development that comes, we don't have the staff to look over those TIAs. That's what that happens. On Highway C, you see the road closed right now. There's 3 separate developments going on in that. Those are 3 huge TIAs that we have to work with consultants to get those worked out on. And then engineering and testing, that's another account that we have. And that's going to become, a signal might come down, or we need some study, a quick study on that intersection. That might be for that. Do we want to go one more slide? A flatbed paint truck, that was in the budget last year. Tom and I had a lot of conversations about that. We were going to refund that earlier this year. We decided not to. So there it is inside this budget. 1-ton dump trucks, I believe that is 4 1-ton dump trucks, 2 tandem trucks, some message boards for $45,000, and a 0-turn mower for $52,000. So that's what we have for the capital. Obviously, that sheet that you have, you're going to see a lot more on there. And that's just to show you that there are a lot more needs that we have that we're not doing. We have 2 roofs that need to be replaced. If you look at the parking lots that we have out there, it's fixed with cold patched. All those are in there, and we weren't able to fund those out of this budget because it's a lot of needs that we have to do, and obviously not a lot of money. So these were what the priorities were this year. And I know a lot of people wanted some more roads to be inside the Capitol, but there's a lot of mouths to feed, and we need equipment. We need plow trucks. We need to keep the fleet going. You saw those machinery costs that we showed earlier of what we were down. That's from fixing our trucks all the time. We have a very old fleet. If we don't add new trucks, new tandems, new single axle 1-ton trucks, that means we're fixing all the old stuff, and it's very expensive to keep these trucks running versus buying new ones. And so that's why how some of this is prioritized. And that's why I wanted to send you some of those capital, our total capital request, and why we prioritize what we did. Are there any questions for highway?
Questions from the committee? Supervisor, questions from the board? Supervisor Horth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bringing it back to page 187. As I'm reading this, you had said a $540,000 change from this year. Well, it was from this year's budget. You're actually reflecting a $1.4 million revenue change this year or next year in comparison to this year. Where is that revenue coming from? Or am I just misunderstanding the terminology on how we're reflecting revenue in the highway department?
So revenue comes from different ways. One place revenue comes from is from the state. When we're on state roads, we're charging for our machinery, charging for the plow, we're charging for the salter, we're charging for the truck. We also charge anytime there's a snowstorm, especially if it's a snowstorm during daytime hours where we're pulling our guys off the levee, back to charging the equipment, back to charging the people. There's an account called TVCCOG. That's where we can pave within the county for other municipalities. We can be painting lines on the roads. We might be doing shouldering. We might be fixing some potholes or crack sealing. So that's where a lot of our other revenues come from.
The one thing I'll caution us on, though, is that if I look back at 24 and then I look at what we're presuming we're going to do this year, you've not come anywhere as close to 23.4 million or $23 million. So again, showing a revenue number is great, but obviously understanding how we're going to get there, because we have to get there. We don't start doing this revenue, we're making budgets with all these expenses anticipated. So that's where my concern comes in. You've explained it well, I get it, but I want to make sure that we're also understanding we've never done $23.4 million, at least not that I've seen here.
The $23.4 million is the total budget. That's with state and with county levy is what that comes. So it counts as a revenue because how we charge ourselves for our plows. We charge ourselves for our labor. So that's why a lot of folks, other departments might say, hey, can you do that for us? And we can, but we have to charge every other department just like ourselves. So although it may seem misleading, it would count as a revenue because we are charging ourselves. That goes back into it.
Got it. But apples to apples, you did 20 million of that same scenario in 24. You're doing 22 million in 25. And now we're looking to do 23.4 million in 26. See what I'm saying?
Some of that is funding. We don't always get the same state funding. The state has discretionary funding, like they call it DMAs. So every year we'll get awarded based on projects. So coming in 2026, there's some bigger projects on 994 because we have the phone jack and do some other things, and it's deteriorating faster than they expected. So there's DMAs. So that's anticipated revenue. We're also, I don't know if you know what Bragmites are. That's that long weed on the side of the interstate that's causing vision issues. We're getting additional funding to help with those and get those down. We're getting additional funding from those funded positions. If we're able to bill those out on the RMA, we would get additional funding for those positions. We took 2 positions that were funded to parks and we're running them back to highway. So between the 3 unfunded positions and then them 2 park positions, that's 5 positions that we would be able to bill out on top of that discretionary funding.
That's a good answer. That makes sense to me then. So thank you.
Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chair. I am confused by this budget. I'm just going to jump right in. I see expenses go up, but I see capital go down, and I know that's what we need to drive roads. How many lane miles of road do we plan to complete this year? I don't know if Lathrop's done, and then how many do we plan to complete center lane miles completed in 2025 versus 2026?
Center lane miles is going to be about 5 miles this year, give or take the decimal on that. And it's going to be, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 miles for the budget.
2.2 for 2026.
There was 3.2 for 2026.
And 5 for 2025,
and
correct?
5 for 2025. And that's for road miles. Now keep in mind, like I said, I can only speak for my department. We still need plows. We still need these 1-ton dumps. We have to keep, without that, we can't be paving. And so that's why I'm asking for some of those other things on there. I would have loved to ask for more, but keep in mind, I'm still being asked to cut out of my capital right now as it is. And there's still discussions that are being going on right now about certain items inside there. So I could have put them in there, but they probably wouldn't have made it.
You're still up, Supervisor Rossi. You,
I'll let someone else speak for now. Thank you.
good. Chairman Miller, second mistake. Chairman Kramer.
Should we change the name?
Let's put this down here in front of there, please.
All right, so let's go back to RMA funds.
Sure.
I know we've discussed this when I was Public Works Chairman, and we've made a concerted effort to get the state to give the county more money across the state here with more funds, because when in the when there's a bad winter, there's no RMA funds. State budget starts July 1st, and all of a sudden we get this flurry of work. So we're half of the next year, we're going to be working on a better RMA amount total for all the counties. And that's how much RMA work did we do this last year?
So right now, as the average our total RMA was 4.1 million that we received. And as of right now, we've used about 2 million of that RMA.
And then you were saying that the Kenosha County was doing some of our RMA work.
Correct.
And of course, then they get paid.
Correct. Yeah, we didn't have the staff to do that, so we put them on our state roads, and they're doing our RMA right now.
And do we know how much RMA we'll have for state fiscal year 27, which would be July the next year till?
It's about $150,000. You want to check?
I think it's closer to 200.
100. Okay.
But I want to caution you that even though the state runs on that other calendar with the July 31st or June 30th year end, the RMA is on a calendar year.
It's on
So
a
we get
calendar
from
year.
January through the December.
So we'll have more RMA next year than.
So in 2026, 1/1 of 2026, the state right now is working on those allocations. So then once they're approved on the state, BHM approves them, then Raleigh will receive that and he'll sign off to be effective as of January 1st.
But with the additional staff, we could do more work RMA, and again, then that brings in more revenue,
Correct, because currently we're not able, with the staffing levels the way they are, we're not able to spend all the money that the state's allocating our way. Hence, Kenosha came in and was able to spend that money on our behalf. So with them, that new staff, we'd be able to bill that out to the state and then utilize that full $4.3 million.
And there's no carryover.
No.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Pritzker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this presentation. Looking at the amount you requested, the amount that was approved, there's like 9 million of unfunded equipment replacement that's at the end of its useful life between the equipment, the roads, and other infrastructure in your department. I think we need a more sustainable, and I'm not picking on you individually. This is maybe a comment across the county. I think it's not financially responsible for us as supervisors or department heads to not know across the entire enterprise all the assets that we have, what the expected life is, to Supervisor Caprillian's point about the computers earlier, and know when they're up for replacement and an estimated cost of what that is. Now, when the year comes, we can make judgment calls and decide what's prioritized or what's not. But right now, and I think sort of to Supervisor Fort's question, we're being asked to approve millions of dollars in bond for things, but in isolation, department by department by department, and not holistically what's coming due. And I think what happened last year was wrong. I think we shouldn't have massive capital projects like a marina and the sheriff's substation and the youth, the health center all coming at the exact same year. I mean, we all knew that these are buildings that have like 30 and 50-year useful life. It wasn't a surprise that they were failing, and we should sequence them so that we're not doing all these huge projects in one year. So I know it's not going to happen now, but if we have just roads is an easy example because I think we know how much, at least that I might not know all the rest of what we have, but according to the Green Book, we have like 338 lane miles of roads. We'll just call them miles, I guess. And if we expect the useful life is whatever we say it is, 30 or 20 years, we should be planning every year to do 11 to 17 miles of road, basically whatever it costs. And it should be part of our annual bonding every year. And to not do so is fiscally irresponsible, in my opinion. I mean, at that rate and if you just estimate, just say for easy math, for the sake of conversation, it's $1 million a mile. We should be doing 11 to 17 million dollars this year, and we should have been for the last 10 years, and we didn't. So we're already 30 to 50 miles behind schedule based on the failure of the roads by their useful life, and we're expecting to go further behind this year. And I understand you need plows and everything. I think that's separate. I mean, I think we need the roads need to be done their useful life. Equipment the same way. Like in the city of Burlington, we did this wrong. So we bought a ton of plow trucks all in 2010. They're all reaching the end of life right now. And now we have to buy like 4 $300,000 plows in a single year. Like that shouldn't happen. Like you should space them out when you buy them and when you replace them so that you're always getting a new one and not replacing the entire fleet. And I'm not picking on you, but I'm just saying, to the whole board and the finance committee, I guess, I know we don't have it now, it's a lot to ask, but for next year, we for sure need to have the schedule of all the assets we own, because we know every roof is going to fail in a certain number of years. We know every AC unit or HVAC equipment is going to fail in so many years. Like it's not all going to last 100 years. And we have to stop doing this budgeting, just year to year at a time, or even just a 3-year future outlook and pretend that it's being financially responsible because we're choosing to defund some things. And I don't know if people in the past didn't do it before because they didn't know to do it, or because they just don't want to document saying we have 50 miles or $50 million of unfunded road projects that were just deferred for the last 10 years. And now it's our problem. So I guess my question is, why aren't we funding 11 miles or 17 miles of road for next year? And you'll maybe say you asked for it, but then I guess the question is why aren't we funding it? And if it's a matter of borrowing, we have tons of borrowing capacity, and this is the stuff we should be borrowing for, right? It is not limited by the levy limits. Levy limits is our operating budget. That's people and stuff that we don't borrow for. We should be borrowing for things that are long-lived assets that are really expensive, like roads that are going to last 20 years or plow trucks that might last 10 or 15. So I think we need to borrow for it. It sounds like even if we were downgraded a rate class by the rating agencies, it has a very small rate impact. I know Ernie's giving me the evil eye. It's like 15 basis points. The market moved like 300 basis points. It's nothing. We should have been borrowing when the rates were like 3% several years ago and replacing equipment on a normal schedule instead of waiting until it's all failing and now paying a higher rate.
So I guess to answer your question, I think that's a question more between the board as a whole and maybe the county executives as a separate conversation.
Yeah. My question is, when are we going to start replacing roads on schedule? That's my question.
I believe that will be part of the strategic plan of the county board in conjunction with the county executive. Thank you for your comments. Supervisor Wishaw?
Thank you, Chair. This is, I guess, just more of a generic question and kind of more of a declarative statement. I put a request in here for Margis. It was partially approved. I'm very grateful for that. Given the complexity of this budget, and if I'm going to be asking for potential cuts to get the levy impact down. Quite frankly, I don't feel that I can still in good conscience ask for that request. So if I'm going to request to rescind that, what is my process to go and go about that?
With us or on the phone.
You could put that request through Gwen, I believe. The amendment form requesting that be withdrawn.
Okay. And the reason I'm doing that, it mainly is just, again, just due to the impact, but there's also significantly more important. Right now, I view that as more of a want versus a need. We obviously just heard tonight there are vastly more more needs versus wants. So I'm comfortable rescinding that request for the 50,000 and then allocating that into something that is more beneficial to the county at this time. So
Thank you.
Yep.
Supervisor Kelly?
Thank you. We all know that streets is not a really favorite topic, and, you know, someone that works in municipality it usually is always the last thing that ever gets done, right? So, I was gonna deviate from my original question, but are you guys receiving LRIP dollars for some of your streets and roads projects?
Yes.
And could you provide me a number of your unfunded positions? I'm particularly concerned. I heard you a couple different times saying that didn't have enough staffing. I'm more concerned about, I guess, the plowing because we had some issues this past year. I believe it was on the highway, but also some of the county roads. So do you have enough staffing for that? And how many unfunded positions do you have? Or unfilled, I'm sorry.
We have 3 unfunded positions and right now 5 unfilled positions.
And do we have a plan for the winter?
Fill those positions, those 5 positions. Right now, you know, our routes are about 4.5 hours long. And if one person doesn't come in, that's a 4.5 hour route that has to be absorbed with other people. Keep in mind, the county executive asked me this. He was asking for Kenosha County's routes. There are 2.5 hours long. We have 24 trucks on the road. They have 44 trucks on the road. We have more lane miles than they do. We have more population than they do.
Right.
So we're naturally going to have a bit of a slower response time because we don't have a second or third shift out. And we have someone that's called just a night watch. And that person is driving around the county. They call people in. Once the roads get bad, sometimes it's too late by the time they get in there. If it's an ice storm, and by the time they get that call, roads start getting slippery. Sometimes our guys can't get in because it's slippery roads, and that does happen. Most times it does work fine, but there are the times that we're a day late and a dollar short. There's no getting around it. But it's one of the things. It's been like this since I've been here. It's been like that. We've had with those 3 unfunded positions that we filmed. That's been the number that we've had since I can remember being working for the county. So would it help our response time having those 3 filled positions? Probably a little bit, but it would help absorb those routes is what it really would have. So if someone's on vacation or someone doesn't come in or someone does a no call, no show, at least that route is being filled because if it's just 2 routes short, now you're talking 9 hours that have to be absorbed between basically 12 people.
Right. So as someone who works in municipality, has a lot of county roads out there, this is always a topic of conversation at our leadership meetings. So, you know, it's always the DPW director brings it up. So I thank you for that information.
Thank you, Supervisor Kelly. Supervisor Kolb?
Just a quick, in 2016, Highway V and K roundabout was in the budget. And it's getting kicked down the road here many a times. When we kick these projects, how much in engineering time do we have to redo all these? Is it pretty quick, or do we have to start back at zero to redesign all these projects that keep getting kicked down the road?
That specific project you're talking about was in 2016 was the design only, not the construction. And the design only at that time was to design a much larger roundabout there was some funding that went along with it. At that time, basically the budget committee felt it was too high of a cost. The roundabout was to complete the construction of it. So we went back down and we found some different type of funding, reduced the size of that roundabout and got that cost to come down. We also got a little bit better funding to come along with that roundabout. And so that's why that's in this project coming up right now. But it was a redesign and it was a new construction. So it's been designed twice.
Supervisor Wishaw.
Thank you, sir. Just point of clarification on the snowplow positions. Does that require licensure to operate those?
Class A CDL.
Okay. And are you struggling to find people?
Not with
licensure?
Not with CDLs. We're not struggling. We're struggling to find people with construction experience. We've turned into a construction county, and at this point, we have to stay a construction county right now, just for budgetary reasons. And because of that, that's what we're struggling to find is not the truck drivers. The truck drivers aren't that bad to find. It's the people with actual more construction experience and then driving experience. Driving a semi is a little bit different than winter weather with a wing on there.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Could we then move on to land and water conservation, please? Thank you.
Okay, this is Chad Sampson. He's our land and water resource manager. He leads the land and water conservation division 2026 budget. And these numbers actually, I don't want to say they're skewed, but they are subject to change at this point because he did receive a grant after this budget came. That grant amount was for $232,000. It's not even a grant. It's actually money just allocated to the state budget for specifically staff on that. So total expenditures for 2026 is $625,000. That's going to be up $32,000 from 2025. Revenues, however, are up $17,000. And then levy requirements up $15,000. Now, keep in mind, with that, it's actually not going to cost anything anymore because of that staffing fund that we have from the state. He does have a capital project. If you want to go to the next slide. What's it? Maybe go one more. Okay, this is the crew. Actually, I'm going to let Chad kind of talk about this. His project, his baby.
I don't know about that. So we've been leasing the Kruger site. This is Highway J out in Rochester, just before you get to 3683 by Case Eagle Park. It's a 43-acre site that we leased to the Waterford Future Farmers of America. And we've leased it for years and years for minimal cost. And Raleigh and I went out there this spring. We're kind of taking a look around and we're trying to practice regenerative agriculture. There is no topsoil on any of that farmland that's out there. It's all in the areas like where you see the R and below the R. That's old wetlands that's filled in with the topsoil. The woodlots have been neglected for years. And there's some steep slopes there that probably shouldn't even be farmed. And we talked about it. We said, maybe we should make this a land and water conservation site for education for students and schools and to show people what our office does. So we have some things like a wetland scrape that we suggested, native grass and pollinator buffer, brush and invasive species removal, maybe an access road, maybe a parking area, and then do regenerative agriculture on the rest of the site. So that was our capital request, but you can go back to the last slide. And so again, this is kind of an overview of what we were talking about. And this is not only to be restoring the site, but also maintain it long term, maybe work with the schools to do that with students and county staff maybe to help get this done. But so that was our one capital project for the land conservation.
So again, that's their actually that's their first capital project that I've ever put up here myself on that. And I do think this is an important project. Look, we preach this. We hold a couple different conferences that Racine County holds, one over at the Cotton Exchange, one at the Case Eagle Park. The one at the Cotton Exchange is hundreds of farmers coming to it. And this is the topics that we talk about. And then we go to Case Eagle and we bring all the local farmers and people from around, some people from around the country come out here. And when I see a site like this for the 70,000, we have half the money already for it. So for the $70,000, I feel this is something that we have, if we're going to preach it, we have to do it as well.
Questions? Comment? Chad, nice job on the grant. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad.
Great. I think last we have parks.
We have our land, the next slide is the land and land information. So this is our land information. It's a pretty straightforward budget. Again, these numbers look a little bit more ugly than what they actually are. Total expenditures, $360,000, up $72,000 from last year.
Page 205. Excuse me.
Yep. And so that's up $72,000 from last year. And then revenues up $31,000. So net levy change of $41,000. And that's basically for one reason. That's a contract that we're going to be going into with Sewer Pack. And the contract is $75,000 for that contract. We were previously using Nielsen Manson Barber as our county surveyor. And I'm not going to bash them. They did a fine job. However, when you're dealing with consultants and we're a much smaller contract from them, we became a bit of a more of a fill-in work for that. And right now we are down about 80 monuments that aren't put inside Racine County because of that. They use these monuments for tie-ins for construction projects, for development projects, and we need to get those. Basically, Racine County is getting off the grid at this point. And so we get a lot of calls saying we can't tie into your monuments. We can't, they're having a hard time surveying in this county. And so we need to get those back in there. We are the only county of the 7 southeast counties that's not inside Sewer Pack. The rest of all 6 are within Sewer Pack and use Sewer Pack as their contractor. The price is exactly the same for all of them. It's $75,000 for each of the counties. So that's what that price is. Do we have to go down this route? And certainly not. You can cut it out of the budget and go back. But if we're trying to fix an infrastructure problem, that's what we have to do.
Questions? Forward.
Go one slide up, and this is a LiDAR project. This is Kim Christen's and Land Information's capital project that they have. It's a LiDAR project, and this is going to go inside of the GIS system. And basically, this is going to improve the GIS system with LiDAR for construction, for development, for highway, for roads. That kind of stuff is what it is. It's an upgrade that I believe as you were saying, Walworth County has it, Walker County has it. Everyone's going to be going to it. We're trying to stay basically right with the rest of the pack on this. So this is basically a GIS upgrade.
Questions? Seeing none. Next up.
Okay, parks.
Page 213, please.
Okay, this is our Parks Division. We have Patrice and we have Ben Haas sitting in there, and I think he's here just for the show. Total expenditures, 2.4 million. That's going to be up 167,000 from this last year. The reason for that, we're going to be taking on Bushnell Park, what the city of Burlington previously had before. We were talking in negotiations with that. We were paying them to maintain the park. They were talking about increasing our payments to them to maintain the park and starting to jump in with some capital purchases for them. At that rate, we decided we would just take the park on ourselves at that rate. So revenues are up $69,000. The net levy change basically from getting that park inside of our system is going to be $98,000 for that. If we go to the next page, we're going to have some capital. So this is some of the capital that we have. Golf cart for Bushnell Park. We need a golf cart out there if we're going to be maintaining it. For $12,000, a batwing mower. That's going to be another big mower. I think it's about 50 acres of mowed grass. So that's going to be out there. A pay station at Quarry Lake. We're going to look into charging, we're going to start charging for Quarry Lake. We talked to the county executive about that. Quarry Lake it's the same setup as Browns Lake, for the most part. You got the lake, you got the pavilion out there, you got the beach. Browns Lake has the exact same thing. We charge for Browns. We used to charge for Quarry already, so we're just gonna go back to starting to charge for Quarry. And we're gonna be using the pay station, so we don't have to have an attendant. So basically, you go in there, it's gonna be a license plate reader. It's gonna charge accordingly, for that. Right now, we're looking at which system is gonna be the best system for us. Waukesha County has a system and the city of Oconomowoc has a system. They both have their glitches and their stuff that they don't like about them. So we're trying to get a system that kind of more of a happy medium. That now it's nice that they have that to find out what they don't like so we can kind of fix that. Then we had margins improvement. That's no longer anymore, and some park tree replacements for $10,000. I think we have one more slide with some more parks capital. We do. Case Eagle campground design. We currently have 2 campgrounds. Both those campgrounds are revenue generators. We make a little over $500,000 in campground fees right now. This was something that was talked about a few years ago and it never came to fruition. And so we're revisiting that with a design and a study about putting a campground over at Case Eagle and some cliffside cabins, 3 of them for $142,000. Those will be revenue generators. And it's with those, I can guarantee you that they will be revenue generators. Cliffside Campground is sold out almost every single day anyways, almost every single site, every single weekend. We kept it open all the way to Halloween. We changed that a few years ago and that got sold out immediately. If we kept it open till into the end of November, it would be sold out. The problem is it's water. We have to close up on our water lines because if we can't risk freezing lines underneath the ground. So that is the reason why we closed Cliffside Campground. Otherwise it would be booked probably as long as we kept it open. Any questions for parks?
Questions? Supervisor Horth?
Thank you. Page 213. When I look at the revenue stream, you're projecting roughly a $600,000 loss in the revenue line. Again, I'm trying to understand apples to apples here. You're showing 600,000 down in revenue and you're showing up roughly 120,000 in the expense line. Just clarify without having to go through too much rhetoric, if you will, because those numbers to me just don't align.
So, in the revenues department for the projections for 2025, the camping fees, which are on page 220, the estimate is too high. It got doubled somehow. So once you correct that estimate, that's a $500,000 difference.
So the revenue for this year is over forecasted by roughly a $500,000.
The projection for 2025 is over
Forecast.
forecasted, correct?
That would answer the question.
Supervisor Spencer?
I have a question about these cliffside cabins. What kind of cabins are we talking about, and can we do 2 or 1 or?
These are going to be rustic cabins. They'll have power hookups to them, but that's it, no running water. And they're going to be going over, and we have what we call a group campground. The group campgrounds are their only campsites that don't sell out all the time, just because they're very large or more expensive for them. And so that's what we figured a good spot to use up those group campgrounds with the cabins. Can we go less? Sure. I guess put a budget amendment, we'll go less.
Thanks.
Supervisor Kolb?
What is the payback on the cabins? Like, how many years would it take to pay them back?
We figured that out. Do you remember what that was? It was about 4 years to pay that back. Yeah.
Questions? Parks? Supervisor Miller?
Thank you. You have a lot of pages of fees. Without going over them now, could you just maybe send us a rationale for the increases?
Sure.
Thank you. And also I would request that the board receive the PowerPoint.
Supervisor Rossi?
Thank you, Chair. I'm enlightened on these cabins. I have to say, I was gonna attack those after I was trying to get more towards highways, so it's interesting to hear. So thank you for that. That's something positive.
Thank you. Supervisor Spencer.
I may have missed this, but the machine on page 221, 505000, you got the machinery increase to 234,600. What in the Parks Department, you're talking about that batwing mower and what are you talking about there as far as the increased?
That's multifaceted. Like I said before, we were trying to move some funding around from the highway guys who work in parks. So when we bill out, like Raleigh talked about before, we're also billing out that machinery with the highway guys. There is still, in order to allow them highway guys to still continue to work in the capacity that the Parks Department cannot work and not have it to pay a consultant or someone else to come in. We've funded that account to account for the highway equipment to be used in the parks along with those people. So, and then also some of the equipment that's used, if we classify it with the state, then it does have a billable rate. So if we were to classify that UTV or parks thing, then that would have a billable rate back to the parks.
So it works in our advantage to keep the equipment within highway, because if we keep it in highway, it has a billable rate when we use it. If we keep it in parks, there's no billable rate for that.
So the mowers, for instance, are used 40 hours a week, the entire, from May all the way to October. So those are high cost, high rental rates. So that's a huge cost to use those mowers.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you, Raleigh, you and your staff for the presentation this evening, and you will get the review of the fees by the staff, correct?
Yep.
Results, and then forward the slideshow to Gwen's department, which will be forwarded to us, or maybe, excuse me. Yes, it'll be on the website.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Kramer?
No, go ahead. Finish up.
Just.
Before you adjourn, let me.
Yeah, just let me finish up here. Continue to submit questions, should you have any, after this meeting this evening. We will convene tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. And be prepared like we were tonight. Go to the website where we have been submitting questions for the finance department, and the results for the response have been great. We've gotten them. If you can't find time to do it, ask one of your fellow county board supervisors to help you out. With that, Chairman Kramer, you want to make a comment?
Yes, just with the budget, and if some of the supervisors probably have by the comments and some conversations I had like yesterday and prior, we're going to probably get a lot of constituent calls on this because we're working with over the increase in spending. Now I've gotten one that lasted about an hour over 2 days. I had to talk to the lady. Be courteous. You can't, if you don't know the answer, call them back, find out. And seeing this, and we've even had some conversations about amendments. I'd like to have a committee of the whole meeting next Tuesday at 5:30 to have an open discussion about this budget. So if, and again, if Gwen could pipe in, if you do have an amendment, when would you like those, Gwen?
Chairman Trotter asked for them to be submitted to him by the 21st. So Byron and I will be in our offices at the 4th floor of the courthouse on Monday and Tuesday. If you'd like to come in and have some help in preparing that, we're happy to be there. Also, you can call, email, we're available to you for those days. Anything that we get, we'll forward to you, Chairman Kramer.
Thank you.
Supervisor Spencer.
Thank you. I would just like to be on the record that Valeria Rivera was listening to this meeting. She wasn't able to say that she couldn't get her mic on. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for all being present this evening and voices of all this evening. I need a motion